Hello students, welcome to Vidyaniketan. Are you ready for today's class?
So now we will learn about Earth. This is Earth as this is our planet Earth. This picture, it when seen from the space, when seen from the outer space, we see that it is blue in color. It looks so blue because of the oceans. It has a huge percentage of ocean, and that's why it is also known as the blue planet. What it is known as? It is also known as the blue planet. Okay. So, Earth is the only planet that has life. Okay, life exists in Earth. So, why does life exist in Earth? Because it has all the features that sustains life. Like it has the presence of water. We have water in Earth, which is essential, which is very much important for life to exist. We have a a good composition of the actual composition of atmosphere which is required for life to sustain in earth. Composition of air is exact, which is required for life, for a living being, and its distance from the sun is also at a perfect distance that is required for the amount of heat that is needed for life. So the distance from the sun is ideal for existence of life, and presence of water and composition of atmosphere. These three, distance from sun. Okay, let me write it here. Distance from sun. This is also ideal. Okay. So all these 3 points, they help they help for the existence of life in earth. So what is the composition of atmosphere in earth? The composition of atmosphere is, it has the right amount of oxygen, it has the right amount of NO2, nitrogen, sorry, not NO2, N2. It has the right amount of oxygen, it has right amount of nitrogen, it has the right amount of carbon dioxide which is required for life. So these, like oxygen is required for all the living beings, all the humans and animals, because they require it for breathing. Nitrogen is required because it prevents the things present, the life or the other objects present in the earth to from burning without any control. Okay, nitrogen prevents burning uncontrolledly. Okay, and why is CO2 required? The right amount of CO2 is required to maintain some amount of heat that is required for uh, the existence of life. Because if there is no CO2 in the atmosphere, then the earth will be tremendously cold at night. So at that time, how can living beings survive? So CO2 traps a certain amount of the amount of CO2 present in our atmosphere, traps a certain amount of heat which is required for the existence of life on earth. So this perfect composition of atmosphere is another point for the existence of life, and its distance from the sun is another point. It is not too cold or not too hot, and it receives the perfect amount of sunlight that is required for life. And here CO2 has two effects. Okay, CO2 has two uses. It traps heat, that we have learned firstly. It traps the exact amount of heat required, and it also helps plants to make food, because plants require CO2 for photosynthesis. So plants make food using CO2. Okay, so CO2 is required for these two things, and all these features of earth make life exist in this planet. Okay. So today we will learn up till this, and in the next class we will continue with the other planets, that is Mars. We will start with Mars in the next class. So what did we learn today? We learned, let's get a recap. We learned about the solar system. Okay. We understood that what is the solar system actually made up of. It is made up of the sun and all the other celestial bodies like the planets, the natural satellites, the meteoroids, the asteroids and comets that revolve around the sun, and all these make up the solar system. So now we learned about the sun, that when the sun was first formed, it was at the center of this disk of gases and dust which were spinning slowly around it, and as time passed, some matter from this disk started to clump together to form planets, and other smaller clumps formed dwarf planets, asteroids and comets. Okay. And all these bodies were held by gravitational forces, and they all revolve around the sun in specific paths called orbits. Here is a picture of the solar system. We also got to know that the sun is about 3,33,000 times heavier than the earth and 149 million kilometers away from us. We also learned that it takes sunlight to reach the earth about 8.3 minutes. Okay. And then we learned about different planets. So there are 8 planets. Pluto is a dwarf planet. Pluto is now considered as a dwarf planet. And the other 8 planets are Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Okay. So then we have planets closer to the sun. The planets which are closer to the sun are also called terrestrial planets. Why? Because they are Earth-like. Okay. And they all have rocky surfaces. This is common between them. And the 4 planets which are closer to the sun are Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. And next we learned about the other 4 planets which are also called gas giants. Why? Because they are made up of gases. They are much larger in size, and they are also called Jovian planets. Why they are called Jovian planets? Because they are Jupiter-like. Okay. So then we started learning about the planets individually. So we started with Mercury. So what did we learn from Mercury? We learned that it is the smallest planet in the solar system, and also it is closest to the sun. There is no air in Mercury, and the rotation time of Mercury is 58 days, and the revolution time of Mercury is 88 days, which proves that, which says that Mercury takes longer time to spin than it takes to revolve around the sun. Okay. This is also because Mercury is very close to the sun, and the length of the orbit is less. The circumference of the orbit is less. And Mercury, since there is no air in Mercury, it has temperature fluctuations. It has a high range of temperature. That is, the lowest temperature in Mercury can go up to minus 180 degrees Celsius, and the highest temperature can go up to 400 degrees Celsius. Okay, and then we move on to Venus. What did we learn from Venus? We learned that in Venus, Venus is also called the morning star. Why? Because it is visible from the eastern part of the earth, eastern horizon, during sunrise or before sunrise, and that's why it is called the morning star. And when it is visible from the western part, or when it is visible from west after sunset, it is called the evening star, right? And how long does Venus takes to complete one rotation about its own axis? It takes about 243 days, and it takes about 224 days to complete revolution around the sun. So we can see that it takes more time to complete rotation about its own axis than to complete a revolution about the sun. And one day in Venus is equivalent to 240 days in Earth, right? And then we also learned that Venus is a brilliant planet. So why is Venus a brilliant planet? Because of its dense atmosphere. And this dense atmosphere mostly consists of carbon dioxide, right? And this carbon dioxide reflects sunlight. A tremendous amount of sunlight is reflected by this dense atmosphere, which is made up of carbon dioxide, and that's why it is a brilliant planet. It shines. It shines so much that it looks like a star. And since it has the atmosphere is mostly made up of carbon dioxide, it is also the hottest planet because carbon dioxide traps heat, and the average temperature of Venus can rise up to 450 degrees Celsius. Okay. So these are the things we learned about Venus, and also we also learned that Venus spins from east to west, and that's why sun rises in the west in Venus and sets in the east. Okay. So these are the points we learned about Venus. Then we moved on to Earth, and we learned that Earth is also called the blue planet because when looked from the outer space, Earth looks blue in color because it has a high percentage of ocean in it, and that's why it looks blue in color. Earth is the only planet where the existence of life occurred. Okay, so it has life. So why does life exist in Earth? There are three characteristics of Earth for which there is occurrence of life. There is existence of life in Earth. And what are the three characteristics? It has water, which is required, which is an important part for life to exist. Then the perfect composition of air, and then distance from the sun. It has an ideal distance from the sun. The perfect composition of air, which is it has oxygen in the right amount that is required to breathe for the living animals and the mammals, and it has perfect amount of carbon dioxide in it, which is required to trap the heat, and also it is required for plants to make food, and it has the right amount of nitrogen in it, which prevents the burning of the things inside Earth, burning of the things in Earth uncontrollably. Okay, it prevents the burning of objects and life on Earth. That's why these three characteristics of the Earth helps for the existence of life. Okay, so we learned this about Earth, and in the next class we will learn about the features of the other four planets, that is the Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus and Neptune. Next 5 planets. Sorry. So this is it. Hope you liked the class. Thank you for watching, and if you like the class, please like, share, and subscribe to Vidyaniketan. Thank you.